now you see, this is how we have enucleated. Now we are going to morcellate. This is the left ureteric orifice, and this is on this side we can see the right ureteric orifice and see the bladder, and this is the enucleated lobe inside the bladder. And now we are going to do the morcellation. During morcellation, it is very important that the bladder is not collapsed. If the irrigation pressure, see, this is the morcellator blade, and the tissue is engaged on top of the blade at 12 o'clock of the blade. So if you see, now we have engaged the lobe, and after we have engaged the lobe, we press the cut pedal. So first is it is in the foot pedal that you halfway it is suction, and if you press the foot pedal full, then it cuts. So initially you saw that we have engaged the lobe onto the morcellator blade, and now I am pressing the pedal completely, and this causes cutting. And you will appreciate that 4 mm by 4 mm pieces are removed. The speed of morcellation with this luminous morcellator is around 10 grams a minute. So this is around 86 gram of prostate, and we should be able to morcellate it in say around 8 or 9 minutes. So that is the speed of morcellation. And as I told you earlier, that this blade is reusable, and we can safely morcellate around 40 cases with one blade. The only thing is, sometimes this tissue becomes very fibrous, and in fibrous glands it becomes slightly difficult to cut, and we prefer to use a new blade when we are dealing with a fibrous gland. Another thing which is important in enucleating a fibrous gland is that no less than 100 watt would work in that particular situation. This is a fibrous gland, and I had to do it all over by a 100 watt machine. And just to let you know that once I was discussing with Peter Gilling that how much energy he would like to have for enucleation of prostate, and then jokingly he told me that if Luminis could give me 200 watt machine, I would love to have a 200 watt machine. So that is just to highlight that how a higher wattage machine can give you a quicker job and a faster job. And I must say that we can do today enucleation at a rate of 3 grams a minute, and the morcellation at a rate of around 10 grams a minute. And as I was telling you that HOLEP has been studied most widely and extensively today, and we have no dearth of articles. More than 100 published articles are today voicing for its accuracy, for its safety, and for its long-term durability of the procedure. Another area which I have not covered so far is that we are a endourology center, and the versatility of holmium laser, and that is that we today are able to do bladder tumors, PUJ obstructions, strictures of the urethra, strictures of the ureter. All can be safely done with holmium laser, because you will appreciate that it is a bloodless procedure. That is number one. Number two, it is very precise, and number three, that it has got excellent permutation combinations of the energy settings. For PUJ obstructions we use hardly 30 watts, for bladder tumors we use 20 watts, for strictures of the urethra we use around 40 to 50 watts. And another advantage in stones, that for bladder stones, hard, large Mulberry type of bladder stones, when they are associated with bladder prostate, we can do it with 100 watts. And if you have a 5 centimeter hard monohydrate stone, which would take 1 hour with a lithoclast, or it will take with a lesser energy, it will take 1 hour, within 5 to 10 minutes, a 5 centimeter monohydrate stone can be lased by a 100 watt luminous laser. So this is one area that for large stones you can do safely the fragmentation. And I will, this reminds me of a very interesting case, that there was a lady, and she was taken up for a cystolithotripsy. One of our residents was doing it, and it was a bladder stone. This lady had a previous surgery for vesicovaginal fistula, and she had a 5 centimeter bladder stone. When this lady was taken up by our resident, he found that lithoclast will not break this stone, and he said, he telephoned me that he is not able to break the stone with lithoclast. And then I went to the OT and I started using holmium laser on that stone, and I found that this stone was formed over a gauze piece, and therefore the gauze piece was not being cut by lithoclast, and the holmium with holmium we could cut the gauze piece and we could retrieve the stone, and thus we saved an open surgery for that patient. So friends, the potentials of this holmium laser is versatile. It can be used in multiple specialties, which the company people would no tell you, but we have used to advantage this laser in many areas in urology. And see, this is how beautifully it has morcellated. And now you must appreciate that what I have done, I have reversed the morcellator. So earlier the blade was coming, the morcellator blade was coming from 6 o'clock, and now the blade is coming from 12 o'clock position. Now the advantage of this 12 o'clock position, this technique has been designed by a Japanese endourologist, and what he does is that he reverses this morcellator blade. The advantage of this reversal technique is that the trigone is fixed. So you see how beautifully these small pieces get sucked up and they are lifted by this morcellator blade, and then I bring these tissue pieces into the prostatic fossa. The advantage of bringing these pieces into the fossa is that it will not take the bladder mucosa, and because if you have a collapsed bladder, sometimes the bladder mucosa gets sucked, but you see how nicely all these pieces have come into the blade. So this is the advantage, and now I am just confirming the right ureteric orifice. I am confirming the left ureteric orifice. This is the trigone, this is the bladder, there is no tissue left, and we will bring come back to the fossa again. You can see this is the right ureteric orifice, this is the left ureteric orifice, this is the bladder wall, and this is the prostatic fossa. You have certain small pieces which can be washed away by a bladder wash. Now this is a small piece lying at 6 o'clock in the prostatic fossa. There are many ways of picking it up. Now I am holding it with a biprong grasper, and with this grasper we remove it. Sometimes these tissues could be very tough, and they can be sort of we make them irregular by laser, and then again they get into the morcellation. Now you can appreciate the kind of fossa we have. You can see a small perf which is of small magnitude. This is the viru. This is the amount of distal to viru tissue which we have removed. This is the sphincter, and this is sphincter is intact all around. This is the fossa all around, and at this stage we will just stop the water. Now we have stopped irrigation fluid, and this is how we remove. So this is the completion of the procedure, and now we are going to pass in a catheter. Usually we pass a 20 French catheter which is kept for a day or two, depending upon the color of the urine, and the recovery of the patient, post-operative recovery is patient specific. Some patients need catheterization for long if they have underactive bladder. The post-operative recovery of the patients is patient specific. Usually we keep 18 or 20 French catheter, and sometimes if the color is high we place it on irrigation, but if the color is clear then no irrigation and no traction is required. The other issue is that sometimes patients of underactive bladder who were on prolonged catheterization may require a prolonged catheter, but all these patients are given a voiding trial as soon as their urine color is clear. And usual average is 36 hours, but it could be up to 5 days. We have seen not seen any patient of failure to void. Earlier with TURP, this phenomena of failure to void was quite prevalent, but because in holmium enucleations, as complete enucleation is done, most of these patients void. There is only 1.7% of the patients who may not void on third day. Then we keep a catheter for another week, and then all of them have voided after that. So the other issue is that these patients are followed regularly at 1 month, 3 months and 1 year. we do on all these patients a uroflowmetry, a post-void urine assessment, residual urine assessment, and the ultrasound or truss volumes and the urine routine microscopy and culture at all these 1 month, 3 months and 1 year, and then yearly thereafter. With this method, we have collected our 10-year data, and we are able to say today that these patients are maintaining low truss volumes and low post-void residues even at 10 years. The most important thing in this post-HOLEP procedure is that their IPSS is very low, and the patients are extremely satisfied after this HOLEP procedure. So the long-term data reveals that good satisfaction is achieved. And the other thing which we are earlier concerned, that what would be the sexual performance of these patients. I must say that 70 to 80% of these patients, they have retrograde ejaculation, but only 2% of the patients out of a cohort of around 3,000 cases which we have done so far, they complained of loss of potency. 98% of these patients had preservation of potency.